Dehancer is a plugin that emulates film and streamlines color workflow. It's available on a bunch of different editors, and today I want to try to answer the question, is it worth the money? Because it's not inexpensive, from as low as $23 a month for Dehancer Lite, all the way up to $449 for a lifetime seat of Dehancer Pro. Today I'm on DaVinci Resolve, a nonlinear editor known for its color workflow, so let's see how Dehancer compares. Right off the bat though, I do want to say that Dehancer did reach out to me to make this video. I'm not getting paid to make this video, but they did provide the software for free. That being said, if you are interested in this product, there are affiliate links below, and if you use the promo code Castillo at checkout, you can get an additional 10% off. I do also want to mention this one thing, because when the Dehancer team reached out, they specifically said, important thing though, is that we are looking for an honest review as it can help us improve, so we do not impose any requirements on what you say about Dehancer. Personally, I love this. I think it means that they're a serious company with a serious product. With that out of the way, let's jump into Dehancer. I prepared a few clips here that we can use for coloring material. I also moved recently, so I figured, Dehancer's got that film vibe, a bit of like that nostalgia feel, so I figured like this whole moving thing could work well. And then I also just have some general like sunset shots in Toronto, which those are gonna look nice as well. So here I have a shot of me in my car. This is an anamorphic lens from a shoot that I did a few months back, and it never saw the light of day because none of the audio got recorded, unfortunately. But it's the perfect clip that I can use for exactly this purpose. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag Dehancer onto here, and I'm gonna select choose camera. So we're gonna want this to be a Sony camera. It is an FX3, where are you, FX3? And it is gamut 3.cine, and I'm going to turn off the film light because it's adding that effect, as well as the expand and just all the other stuff, especially the film grain. Exactly. So this is just the conversion LUT, what that looks like. I do wish that it didn't just enable things by default, that you would enable each part of it, because essentially what I end up doing is I end up putting the conversion LUT and then having to disable a bunch of things. So if I am being honest, Dehancer, and if you're watching this video, I would update this such that it's not enabled by default. I will say that there is just ever so slightly a bit of a learning curve to Dehancer from someone who comes from the world of Premiere Pro and then eventually DaVinci Resolve. This is much more of like, what it says in the title, it's film emulation. And so some of the terminology that it uses is from film. I would say it takes a minute to get familiar, and there are certain knobs that only alter if other knobs are altered. That being said, it's all contained to the different sections. So if we look at the section over here, the very first section is sort of like your Rec 709 conversion, followed by the film LUT that you'd like to put, followed by developing and compressing, which is essentially just contrast and saturation. Expanding, honestly, not super sure what that is, but I guess it's like the opposite of compression. From someone who comes from an audio background, that's what I would expect. Print, just a different way to manipulate color. Then we have our color head, which is similar to our color wheels, shadows, midtones, highlights, etc. Then we've got our film grain, halation, bloom, and at the very end you get really all of those film like aesthetics where you can apply the effects. And I will say that the effects, the quality of the effects, are excellent. Like DaVinci has a lot of this built in, not all of it. Like for example, it doesn't have bloom, but I would say that side-by-side comparison, Dehancer versus DaVinci, the quality of the effects is superior in Dehancer. So anyways, back to the Rec 709 conversion LUT. This is what that looks like immediately, a beautiful image to start working with. I want to move on to the next clip that I have over here. I've applied the Rec 709 conversion LUT. And what I decided to do to show you what it looks like, because DaVinci also has that conversion, right? Color space transform, you select all the parameters, and this is what it looks like side by side. So here we have Dehancer on the left, DaVinci on the right. Immediately upon looking at this, I much prefer the left image, which is the Dehancer image. The blacks just seem a little bit lower. Let's see if I actually go to the color tab, we can see a side-by-side comparison. So the image looks very different, but the waveforms don't look crazy different. And that's just because there's a little bit more saturation here, which is not as obvious in the waveforms. The sky is ever so slightly pushing towards cyan, a little bit warmer as well. The reds are more saturated. The blacks are just a little bit, they feel darker to me. They feel crunchier, but they don't look crunchier necessarily on the waveform. So personally, I like a workflow that is fast and can get me somewhere that looks good quickly. If the Rec 709 conversion LUT accomplishes that, everything else is going to fall into place much faster. That being said, this is not something that is impossible to do without Dehancer. So if I were to grab, let me just make sure I'm on the right clip. This, maybe I'll punch this down, maybe I'll bring this up a little bit, something like that. It seems like they did warm it up just a hair, like that. And then maybe they're pushing more towards green. Like, those small adjustments went a very long way. And I could save this as my personal LUT to go from S-Log3 to Rec 709, but it's not exactly the same. It's not perfect. They've probably done a little bit more work than what I just did in 5 seconds. So immediately, first step, Rec 709 conversion LUT, loving it. Here's another example side by side of Dehancer on the left and DaVinci conversion on the right. The Dehancer conversion is just ever so slightly warmer, a little bit nicer, richer skin tone. The blacks, they feel lower, even though according to the scopes, they seem to be the same. So that's just an interesting phenomenon. Maybe it's just a little bit more contrasty, but I do like the way it looks right off the bat. So let's go through the rest of this plugin. So immediately after, we have our film profile. So I'm gonna go ahead and select like Portrait 800, and we can do like an on and off situation to see what that looks like. And the nice thing about this is there are tons of options to choose from, and they're all built into the plugin, so you don't have to download all of this stuff separately, which DaVinci does have a few. It doesn't have the extent. So I'm gonna go with the Portrait 800 and just push it a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and push that contrast a little bit, that gamma correction, bring that higher, color boost to get some color back in. Film compression. So now we'll bring this in, and this allows us to get that nice highlight roll off. At least that's the way that I've been using it. So the white point, let's see. Bring that here. What's the impact? And I sort of just go through them like that. That's the approach that I have been doing. Again, not a colorist, but when I'm working in the field, get a plugin, put it on, I like it, move on to the next thing. And turn that on and off, and you see what that's doing. It's sort of like rolling off the highlights, so the overall image is more compressed, right? There's not as much dynamic range. I'm not gonna expand. Gonna skip this, and maybe let's go to some of the effects. So let's add some grain, perhaps not so crazy, like a 50 millimeter grain, not 50 millimeter, what am I saying? A 50 ISO grain, just a little bit sort of thing. Halation, let's go through these now. So halation, this is not a great clip for this, in fact, because there's not a lot of lights. So never mind, I'll try a different one for that. Then we have our bloom. So bloom, yeah, we're getting that effect. This is cool. Wow, this looks, we can see it in the knobs and this thing in the back. Gonna enable it and disable it. That's pretty. And this is one of those effects that DaVinci actually doesn't have, is the bloom effect. It does have halation, it does have film grain, although I will say that the effects that are built into Dehancer are much better quality than those that are built into DaVinci like natively. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that bloom just maybe a little bit less. Let's turn on film damage. Sure, this is probably one of those things that I need to actually play the clip. Film breath. Oh, I see what that's gonna do. No, I'm gonna turn that, I'm gonna leave that off. Let's see the overscan. So this is, yeah, let's see what options we have. Super 35, Super 16, Ultra 16, Panavision. Oh, interesting. That's kind of cool. So this is where my M1 Mac Mini starts to hate me, because not only am I screen recording, but I have two side-by-side MXF clips from the Sony FX6. So I thought we were friends. So again, here we get these effects, and I've seen these on YouTube all the time. So if this is the type of thing that you want to be doing as well, again, quality effects built into Dehancer. I don't use these all too much, but I do appreciate them every now and then. And last but not least, the vignette, which I do use often. Although I do want to, yeah, maybe more like that. Oh, and you can alter the aspect ratio of the vignette. That's cool. Maybe I will use this just for fun. Okay, so let's say that that's the end product. Here, I'll play it on screen right now so you can see what the end product looks like versus the clip that we started off with. I have to say, it looks really good. and it was quite easy to achieve. The one thing I do want to mention before I wrap this up is it does take substantially longer to export this once you are done editing. So if you're doing like multiple revisions and you want to get a video out quickly, the Dehancer workflow is not going to work in your favor. So while it does speed things up while you're doing the coloring, it will take more time once you're trying to get out of DaVinci. So that's somewhat unfortunate, but if you've ever used any sort of plugin, they tend to all take longer because they're not native to the software. So that's an understandable compromise. And here on screen, I'll show you some additional clips so you can see what it is that I'm able to do with this plugin. So what's the verdict on Dehancer? This is what I'm going to say because I do want to give an honest review. I think for 80% of people, you can just continue using the tools in DaVinci and you will be totally fine. They're very workable. And if you're not going for that like really perfect film emulation, the tools within DaVinci will get you 80% of the way. But if you're the type of person who's looked up like at least 3 tutorials on how to makeshift a halation effect or a bloom effect in DaVinci by like luma keying it out and then like pushing it out of focus because that's the aesthetic that you're going for, and you've gone through the tutorials, you've done the work, and you feel like you're still not getting what you want, this is what you need. Stop wasting your time with those tutorials. You're going to get a much better result much faster with Dehancer. And if you are part of that 20% who would benefit from this plugin, you can check out my affiliate links below and use promo code Castillo at checkout to get 10% off. That's my Dehancer review. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.